Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and what would one simple block and some sashing look like together? Let's find out. We're going to start with 3 fabrics. The fabric is from Dear Stella, and I've chosen a really dark and 2 medium colors, or you can consider it a medium and a light. It's something that's going to have some contrast. And the block is going to consist of little units sewn together with sashing. We're going to make 16 blocks. This is going to go together really, really quickly. And everything's going to start off at 2.5 inches. We're going to need 6 strips. Cut the width of the fabric from the yellow, the orange, and the black, all at 2.5 inches. So we're going to sew 2 darks onto the one color and 2 darks on the second color. Subcut both of the strips at 2.5 inches, and you need 36 of these small units. I now have 36 of each color, and I'm going to have 4 strips left of the orange and 4 strips left of the yellow, and I'm going to subcut those and cut those long strips to 4.5 inches. You also need 36 of these of each color. We have 36 of each of these units, and that's going to make the entire block. But we did cut a little bit of the dark, and these are going to go little cornerstones with the sashing. We've not cut the sashing yet, but we want to get the squares done first to see what color we want to use. But we're going to need 25 2.5 inch squares of the dark. Put the 25 squares away, and we need to sew these units together. The left is going to go on the right, so you have that right corner, which is going to be the dark one. And you're going to do that for both of the piles. So take them to the machine and stitch them all together. Now take them and divide them in 2 piles, so you have 18 in each. Take 2 of the squares, and in my case I'm going to use the darker orange and have the dark pointing inside. With the 2 other piles, you're going to have the dark pointing out. We need to sew these 2 units together, but the units are the same. So you're going to be able to just stack them together, bring them to the machine, and sew them all down the center. Now I'm going to be able to take that pile, divide it up in half, and stitch down the center. The blocks are done, and they should equal 8.5 inches. The nice thing about this block, if it doesn't equal 8.5 inches, you can square it up to what size you want. Just make sure all 16 blocks are the same size. The blocks are going to be sewn together with some sashing and some cornerstones. So we already have the dark cornerstones cut. Now we need to decide on what color we want the sashing. For example, here is what the yellow would look like, or the orange. You can even put it together without sashing. Or you can introduce a new color. To sew them together, you're going to need a 2.5 inch strip by 8.5 inches for both sides, and sew those 2 sides together so you have one long unit on both of them. The next one, sew that 2.5 inch square in the center of those 2 strips, and then sew those strips together, and that center is going to match up. When the 4 blocks are done, you can add some strips along the top and adding sashing along the sides. Just making sure that at every intersection you have one of these little black corners. Now that the 2 borders are done, we can start putting them together. And it's just going to go 2 blocks by 2 blocks. We can sew 2 blocks together and then add another set of sashing on the one side. And this is what one simple block looks like put together with a little bit of sashing. You can see that the pattern does look like you have some bow ties, but at the same time you get to see this block pattern running through. You'll see the yellow blocks on one and the opposing color on the other. You can leave it as simple as this or add a couple of borders. I'm going to add a border on with this yellow and add 1 more cornerstone on the 4 corners, keeping with the 2.5 inch theme. So it's going to be 2.5 inches all the way around. So with 1 block and some sashing, we get a nice, fun, whimsical quilt. And it was So very easy to do. Thank you for joining me today on So Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.